Okay, so here's the second installation of 16.4. This is going to be a brief audio lecture over the adrenal medulla. So in the previous audio lecture, we talked about the adrenal cortex. Now in this lecture, we're going to talk about the second region, and this is going to be the adrenal medulla. Okay, so the adrenal medulla, for those who need a reminder, is this inner layer. Okay, the adrenal medulla is made up from modified sympathetic neurons, right? So here we have modified, this is called chromaffin tissue, and so we have modified sympathetic neurons that are making up this chromaffin tissue. Now, if you remember back to the autonomic nervous system, okay, and the structure of sympathetic versus parasympathetic neurons, the sympathetic neurons they produce and secrete norepinephrine, right? The postganglionic fibers, at least, the part that innervates the target cells. Here, we see that we have modified the sympathetic nervous system postganglionic fibers, okay? And these fibers actually secrete mainly epinephrine, okay, which is considered a catecholamine. So norepinephrine comes from neurons, and epinephrine would only come from your adrenal medulla. Okay? And you see that this is the termination of these neurons, and so their products are going to be inserted into circulation. So we've been talking about the control mechanism, and so this ACTH can actually stimulate the renal medulla, or the adrenal medulla as well, okay? And it's going to mediate part of this process. So ACTH can result in epinephrine secretion from the adrenal medulla. Now it also is activated by the sympathetic nervous system, because we see that the preganglionic fibers innervate the structure, and we can encourage the release of norepinephrine and norepinephrine from the adrenal medulla in that order, okay, by activating the sympathetic nervous system or activating ACTH. Okay, so right here, and this little organization, so the CRH, the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary, and the adrenal gland, are all a part of the HPA axis. So H stands for hypothalamus, P stands for pituitary, A stands for adrenal gland, and then this is an axis. So it's a series of events that occur. Okay, so the function of the adrenal medulla is to create a series of events to help you in that fight or flight response, right? So it's an arm of the sympathetic nervous system, but it's going to become active when we're stressed out, right? Maybe that bear's chasing us through campus and we need to get away. So we would increase circulating epinephrine, and we can do this through direct sympathetic nervous system activation or stimulation. Okay. Cortisol could act to increase epinephrine circulation by increasing the enzymes. So cortisol can act on protein synthesis as well, and if we need an enzyme, okay, to increase the function, increase the production of epinephrine, then cortisol is responsible for that. And then, like I said before, adrenocorticotropic hormone can also stimulate the adrenal medulla to produce and release epinephrine. Yeah. So cortisol and enzymes, yes. Overall, the system is very, very well coordinated, so we see a synonymous transition, or a synonymous pathway between the sympathetic nervous system and the stress response, so the HPA axis. And we see a high integration of this. And the point of this is that we get this combined endocrine and nervous system, so we have a neuroendocrine gland here. And all this is to increase the chances of survival, right? That is the main goal of what we are doing here, is we're trying to make sure that we can survive the next 5 minutes, or even shorter. So that was a very brief audio lecture. I want to thank you for listening to this, and until next time.